y'all, it's your girl Shanice back at it again with another video. Today we will be cooking some steak with Parmesan crusted potatoes and honey glazed roasted Brussels sprouts. While we cook, we will also be talking about Limerence and Heartbreak. Without further ado, let's hop into today's video. Have you ever been so heartbroken that your chest actually hurts? Like, not only are you sad, but the area where your heart lies is actually in physical pain. I don't know about you, but I have actually experienced that. We could take it back to my first year of college. I grew up in a manner where I was shielded from a lot of things, and this was good until it wasn't. See, in middle school and high school, I seen my friends around me having boyfriends and girlfriends. I heard my friends talking about they did this and they did that with their significant other. And because I was shielded from a lot of things without knowing why I was being shielded, I just thought I was missing out on something good that all of my other friends were doing. And so for my very first year of college, I was about 2 hours away from home. And I felt like I finally had the freedom and finally had the ability to do the things my friends were doing in the years prior. I was also a big romance book fanatic. I loved the idea of love, or what those books portrayed as love. And I just knew as soon as I had the chance, I was going to be writing my own love story in real life. So the very first thing I did when I got on that college campus was go and find me a little boyfriend. For about 2 months, me and this little boyfriend would do everything together. He was my first for a lot of different things, and I just knew that we were going to be together forever. Of course, that was short-lived, and after 2 months, it came time for Christmas break. And right before that break, something told me to check his phone. So I did, and he let me. What I found on that phone was around 50 different Snapchat messages and Instagram DMs to girls back home where he would be going for the next month during break. Blessedly, I wasn't so dumb to try to make that work, but I will tell you I was devastated. I remember being in the cafeteria the next day after breaking things off and just bursting out in tears, my friends holding me up as we walked out. It was kind of like a soap opera in a sense. I remember going home and not even being able to interact and play with my siblings who I hadn't even seen since August because I was hurting so bad. I remember being so confused because the love story that I had pre-written in my head did not go to plan. And I am here to tell you today that I am so glad it didn't work. See, that first relationship led me on a downward spiral of bad relationships and situationships in search of the love story that I thought I needed. Each of these relationships were plagued by obsessive thoughts, insecurity, a lack of focus on the things that I needed to focus on, and just an overall feeling of lack. What I was experiencing was limerence. When we look up the definition of limerence, it is described as an involuntary state of intense romantic infatuation and obsessive, often one-sided longing for another person, characterized by intrusive thoughts, emotional dependency, and idealization. In my search for this supposed love story, I did not care about the character of the person I was involving myself with. As long as they seemed to like me, I was all in. But what comes with that, unfortunately, is giving yourself away to people who will use you and toss you out. And so when it was all said and done, and I was thrown away, I was stuck in this one-sided longing for that person while they moved on to the next. And like I mentioned before, every one of these attempts at romance led to failure. But it was those failures that led me to Christ. It was those failures that showed me that the love did not begin with another person, but it began with Jesus Christ. The whole time I was looking for the perfect fairy tale ending, the initiator and completer of love was wooing me to himself all along. In Hosea 2:14 we read, "But then I will win her back once again. I will lead her into the desert and speak tenderly to her there." In this verse, he's talking about Israel, but this can be said about all of his children. The Lord is constantly calling out to us, but for a lot of us, limerence is in the way. How can we hear God if we're constantly thinking about another person? How can we receive his love if we don't even know what true love is? And so today I want to talk through two things that I did that helped me escape this cycle of limerence. And the first thing that I had to do was surrender. See, there will come a point where you are tired. You're tired of going through the same thing over and over again. You're tired of putting your heart in the hands of another and them hurting it. You're tired of trying to be so perfect in hopes that the other person will see your efforts and want to stay. You will become tired. And if you're watching this video, you might already be at that point. And I want to tell you that it is time to surrender that fatigue. It is time for you to lay down at the altar of Jesus Christ, to go on your knees and just pray. It's time to tell God that you are handing it over to Him. You're handing over your relationships. You're handing over what you thought you knew about love. You're handing over everything because obviously we are doing something wrong and we need the Creator of all good things to take over. When you do this, it has to be for real. You have to let go of any and all relationships that are causing harm or that you know are ungodly. It may hurt. It may be difficult to do that, but when it gets hard, just relax your whole body, unclench your jaw, release your shoulders, just go limp and pray to God saying, I surrender. Surrender as an action may look like you not texting that person back and saying, Lord, this person keeps hurting me and is causing me to drift away from you. So until you give me the next steps, I have to remove this person from my life. It may look like looking to God and praying to God when a new person comes into your life, acknowledging that you have not used discernment in the past and you are going to rely on God this time before you make any steps. The Lord tells us in His Word to take our thoughts captive, to have control over them. So an action might look like whenever that person who may not be so good for you pops up in your mind, you go for a walk or you do a hobby, anything to get this person out of your mind so that you can think about things that won't send you into those obsessive romantic thoughts. When I think about the act of surrender, I think about Jonah, who ended up in the belly of the whale due to his disobedience, and the prodigal son who spent his whole inheritance only to end up lying with pigs. In both situations, they thought they knew best, and they both quickly found out that they were wrong and repented. And the Lord heard them and set them back on the right path. And that needs to be us. We need to acknowledge that we don't have the answers, that we keep getting in the wrong relationships. We keep doing the wrong things and it's just not working. And just like Jonah and the prodigal son, He will hear us and set us back on track. This takes humility. It takes acknowledging that we were wrong and need help. In 2 Chronicles 7:14, we read, If my people who are called by my name would humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and heal their land. The Lord is ready. He is ready to step in. He is ready to renew broken hearts. Matter of fact, the word tells us that He is near to the brokenhearted. You just have to invite Him in. And this leads us to the second action that needs to be done. And this is to relearn. Matthew 6:22 tells us that the eye is the lamp of the body. We see a lot of things in media and learn things that we shouldn't. We see the rapper with 4 children with 4 different fathers and think that's normal, not knowing that she is really hurting inside. We may see on the news or on social media the actress that keeps going back to her abusive partner, not knowing that she is so scared. She is so scared that she can't even leave or feels like she can't leave. We see the movies, we hear the songs, and we think that a certain lifestyle is normal, is good, when in actuality, all of that stuff just leads to pain. And this is where, after we surrender to God, we have to open our ears and our hearts to receive what He is going to teach us. This requires prayer, asking God to do this for us. See, the Bible tells us to flee from sexual immorality. It tells us to have only one spouse. It tells us not to awaken love before the appropriate time. He tells us that He is love and that love is patient and kind, that love is not self-seeking. We see that love is more of an action than a feeling. And it takes us actually reading His Word to realign our hearts to truth. It is the realigning of our hearts that allows us to go forward in a manner that is not only pleasing to Him, but good for our soul. This time of relearning might take a year, 5 years, a couple months, but it is good to take your time. It is good to see how much God has been loving us all along. We read in 1 John 4:16, "So we have come to know and to believe the love that God has for us. God is love, and whoever abides in love abides in God, and God abides in him." God loves you, and He wants the best for you. And while you are learning, you must remember that, because the relearning will be uncomfortable. One thing that helps me was remembering that God is perfect. That He tells us these things not as a means of controlling, but because He created this world and He knows what will be good and helpful for us. It's easier to digest correction when we know the character of the corrector. So, just to recap, we escape limerence by first surrendering to God, laying down all of our hurts, worries, false ideologies, which will then allow Him to come in and reteach us truth, to tell us what He says, so that we may walk in a manner that is glorifying to Him and peaceful for us. I hope this video was helpful to somebody out there. I know that this has been one of my biggest struggles and the biggest thing that was keeping me away from God. So I just pray for anyone out there that is dealing with a bad relationship, struggling with toxic cycles, yearning for a love that they will never find in another person. I pray that whoever is out there dealing with these things, that they would just come to know Jesus and receive Him so that He can renew and redeem their life.